Since taking office here as ambassador to Ireland in 2014, a goal of mine has been to widen the circle of those who are invested in the United States-Irish relationship through conversations about creativity and conversations about innovation. I want to encourage the next generation of Irish leaders and American leaders to invest in one another and to invest in the future. Because of the familial relationship between our countries, we have been able to establish an economic engine which is really probably the envy of the world. We in America think we simply get the Irish. We think that, and I've seen in my year here, I think the Irish get us. We work very, very well together without translation, and you can look at, there are a number of reasons, and you've heard them all about English speaking and low and transparent tax system and well-educated workforce and in the Eurozone. But the truth of the matter is that we simply just get one another. The problem of the world,
big global startup ecosystem, as far as
the world can't be resolved by cynics. We need men and women who can dream things that never were and ask why not. So by all means, use your creative minds, connect with others, make new recipes, dream of things that never were, and ask why not. I wish you the best in your endeavors with this conference. Jonathan, I'm glad that you're here to share them with us, and I look forward to the day's activities.
Well, Jonathan, you're very welcome. I'm delighted you got off the airplane.
Thank you.
You didn't get caught in the snow.
Yeah. I wanted to take a few minutes just to really begin by telling you what I think we're seeing a little bit globally. In a way, what we've done in entrepreneurship, particularly outside the United States, is that we've taken money out of entrepreneurship as a prime motivator of what really starts encouraging people to create new businesses. So I think entrepreneurs are bringing out, especially in poor parts of the world that we work in, I think we're seeing now an extraordinary value system that's coming out. And of course, we all know, anybody that's surrounded by entrepreneurs know that their enthusiasm is infectious. They're fun, they're social, they're connected, and of course, most importantly, they're global. They've got a new kind of spirit getting formed in terms of what it means to create value. So when we look at the ecosystems that we're all trying to build in our cities, in our countries, and in our regions, you're seeing this renewed human spirit for creating value. So I think we're seeing this rise of the rest occur across the world, which is making it very interesting. And one of the reasons that that's important is that we've now moved away from a common myth that Silicon Valley are the guys that had the right recipe. And so I think we're starting to learn about what are the key characteristics, and I can get into more detail in any discussions, but at Kaufman we're doing a substantial amount of research around this. The government is now starting to ask for a lot more data because, just as your government is, if they're going to pour money into things, they want to know, is it working? So we're starting to say, and this is something that Ireland needs, and I know there's movements afoot to say maybe Ireland should have its own Kaufman Foundation, but to do a lot of analytical research to work out what's the truth. So for example, we got really unpopular at the Kaufman Foundation because we came out with some factual information about venture capital. And the thing is, it wasn't very friendly to the venture capital industry. I mean, basically the majority of startups don't take venture capital. In fact, less than 13% took VC money last year in the United States. It's not a distinction between big business and small business. What the distinction you should care about when you're trying to help entrepreneurs is that difference between new business and old business. We realized that there were all these institutions around the world that were funding entrepreneurship research. Not only did they not know each other, but their research agendas were totally unaligned. So what they do is they don't pool their money. I mean, they're big institutions, World Bank, Rockefeller Foundation, Kaufman Foundation, big organizations that have multi-million-dollar budgets. But what we do is we sit around a table to decide what kind of analysis and research, what data should we collect, what do we need to know about entrepreneurs, how can we better inform policymakers. It's all about the team, it's all about networks. It used to be that these kind of conferences would occur and someone would stand up, usually a politician, and say, oh my gosh, the most important thing I know that you all want, because I just gave you a survey and you filled it out, is access to capital. And we would turn around and say, actually, you don't need access to capital, you just need much more sophisticated networks that are going to allow you to be at all times between 1 and 2 degrees of separation away from that capital and that talent and treasure when you need it. And the big moment here is when you need it. Because the other thing we're seeing across the world, whether it's in Nairobi, where I recently tried to invest in a startup that said, really appreciate it, but we're not ready for you yet. The real issue is everybody's now deciding the whole timing of this. They have to bootstrap as long as they can bootstrap. They have to be very careful at what point they take outside capital, whether it be in debt or equity. And you're seeing some of these now, to most people in this room, fairly obvious dynamics. But we're now moving far beyond that now in understanding a much more sophisticated science of ultimately how do you succeed. This gives you a sense of how we're operating globally in all 160 countries. We have ultimately Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is around continuing to reach new audiences and to go on getting a constant flow into the entrepreneurial ecosystem community. We have a whole range of programs and resources, and these programs and resources are often things that we test and fund at Kaufman. The ones that don't work, we put them in a drawer. The ones that do work, we'll try to roll the IP out internationally. Gen Ireland will have access to every other gen. So you may turn around and say, in this area, we're interested in looking at US models. However, in these areas, we're much more interested in looking at other European models, or we're interested in looking somewhere else entirely around the world. So the idea is that Gen Ireland will be able to tap into the global community. The second idea is as a result of Gen Ireland being the face of Ireland to all of these other communities, so far it is proven that some of the entities that were very competitive with each other in some of the countries, I can tell you Turkey's been a great example, have not only aligned their agendas, which has made the ministers very happy. They go with 4 things rather than 14 people going with 10 things each to request from their ministries. But secondly, of course, when it comes to their engagement overseas, they've been successful at presenting a very clear, consistent both message about the successes that Ireland's having and indeed the areas where there's a greatest deal of interest. Gen Ireland is managed and controlled by Ireland. Okay, so it's got a board right now that will evolve and get formally announced. Sort of its final board will is yet to be formally announced. But the point is, Gen Ireland will be controlled by Ireland. We actually have 1 seat on the board, and that's just to make sure that we're able to ensure that the flow of what we're doing from Gen Global is working. And there's no money that goes outside of Ireland. That's an important thing. I'm going to answer that question right away. It's not like someone coming in and selling you a program you've got to pay for. This is joining a global community, is what it really is. We have 2 big events. One, I'm very proud to say, unofficially, haven't announced it yet, but it looks like it's coming to Ireland in Cork in November this year, which would be the Startup Nation Summit in partnership with Startup Ireland. But our other big event of the year is called the Global Entrepreneurship Congress, which you're all invited to. It doesn't cost you to come except for your airline ticket, but we basically bring together the sort of 8,000 people, literally, from the 160 countries that we think are driving the development of these healthier entrepreneurial ecosystems. And they come and they have a fest for a week, learning everything they can from each other. And we bring everything we can to the table. We always talked about the Irish miracle. We always talked about Ireland. In fact, you guys were the first country really to sort of, ignite the entrepreneurial spirit in so many respects. And so much of what we'll be doing, we hope you'll be teaching others, but certainly to the extent that anything that we're doing on the global stage is helpful, we're here, and at the risk of sounding like the government, we're ready to help.
Gen Ireland has been a journey over many years. and for myself and Marie, entrepreneurship has always been at the heart of everything that we've done, and is at the heart of Gen Ireland. And how this whole engagement with the Kaufman Foundation began, it started back in 2010 and 2009 when the economy crashed here in Ireland. As a result of that, we were involved at the Global Economic Forum, if anyone can remember as far back as the time it was held in Farmlee, and we rallied together some Indigenous business leaders, not to have a think tank, because the idea was to come up with real solutions for the Irish economy, which at that stage was in literally free fall. We had many workshops, and we engaged entrepreneurs. We had some fantastic, I suppose, people partake in those. All in all, there was about 65 leaders of industry over that period of time that got involved. And we looked up who are the leaders in the space of this worldwide, who are the, I suppose, the real driving force intellectually in this space of entrepreneurship, and we stumbled upon the Kaufman Foundation. I'll start very quickly with a welcoming message that we had been given by On T-shirt, just welcoming Gen Ireland. And I think if I could just read it for yourselves there, and I'll give you an idea of his own view of what Gen Ireland can do for the ecosystem. Dane Stangler, the Vice President for Research at Kaufman, flew in, and he presented down at Meath at the Enterprise Week. And he couldn't be here today, but he did want to say a few words. So,
hello from Kansas City. My name is Dane Stangler, Vice President of Research and Policy at the Kaufman Foundation. I'd like to say hello and thank you to On Taoiseach. Thank you for all your efforts to support entrepreneurs in Ireland. I'm sure we'll see great results from all your efforts over the coming years. Hello as well to my friend, Minister Damien English. Minister English hosted me and showed me around County Meath with its growing entrepreneurial ecosystem when I was there in November for Global Entrepreneurship Week. Thank you for all your efforts to build a national entrepreneurship strategy for Ireland.
for us, it's to try and work together and create an inclusive, non-competitive platform where we can all work together and leverage resources, both on a national and a global level, to really achieve the one goal, which I believe we're all trying to do, which is to kind of develop that reformed economic stability for Ireland. We want to continue to engage partners throughout meetings, the workshops and presentations about the programmes and activities we are rolling out in 2016. So another big point for us is we want to gather and we want to lead an Irish delegation to the Global Entrepreneurship Congress in Medellin, which is in Colombia this year. So we want to also help partners and entrepreneurs to engage to create impactful and measurable results in the work that we'll be doing, engage in new research through identifying and engaging a lead member partner for GERN and encourage others to join us. And the Startup Centenary is really, it's a banner that we all can come under for the next year and rally, I suppose, the entire community to engage in entrepreneurial activities and encourage everybody to fly the flag in terms of entrepreneurship in Ireland for the next 12 months. We have identified 5 key programmes for 2016 that we want to focus on. One is obviously the Global Entrepreneurship Week in November. GBAN, Michael is still in the room, is he? Michael? So we'll be sitting down having a chat. That's a big thing for us to look and focus on how we can help develop the networks here as well. The Get in the Ring competition is actually going to be hosted, the national finals and the national development competition, here in the Guinness Enterprise Centre this year. GERN, that's a work in progress that we're starting to develop with the Minister's Office. The 5th programme is the Global Entrepreneurship Congress, which we are hoping to bring an Irish delegation to this year. In September, one of the largest groups of high potential startups that have ever come to Ireland is arriving, between about 50 of them, if not between 50 and 100. And we are matching them with 50 Irish high potential startups. And we are hosting the Pipeline Global Innovation Summit. And it's going to be 3 days in Belfast and 3 days up here. And it is probably the most exciting thing that has come to Ireland in this space, specifically bringing entrepreneurs together.